Hi friends, Phil here and welcome to part 3 in this Sketching Places Quickly series where we're trying to do 5 different locations, 5 different scenes, sketching them in under 15 minutes. So in this particular sketch, in this lesson, we're going to be looking at a woodland or forest scene. So lots of complexity. You've got all the foliage and the trees, hundreds and thousands of branches that we're obviously going to have to simplify if we're going to hit anything like our 15-minute target. If you happen to have stumbled upon this video first and you've not seen any of the others in the series, I do recommend that you start with part 1 and then try and watch them in order, and I'll link to all the different parts in the description below. You can also find a link to download the reference photograph so you can follow along with this one. Remember, with these, we're not trying to create masterpieces. You can't create masterpieces in 15 minutes. You can't create anything other than a quick thumbnail sketch. So we're not judging this, hopefully you're not judging this by the quality of the finished piece of artwork. Instead, we're trying to just get something down on paper nice and quick that we can then take back to our studio or our workspace and use it as inspiration maybe for a more detailed piece, a painting or a more worked up drawing. Remember, this series of lessons, like most of the videos that I put on the YouTube channel, are designed for you to follow along with. That's the way that you improve. And besides, it's just a lot more fun, isn't it, than sketching and drawing, rather than just listening to me drone on for 15 minutes. So go grab your pencil, go grab a sheet of paper, and let's make a start. So here we have a scene that, out of the 5 we're going to do, this is the odd one out. Any guesses why that might be? Well, it lacks a definite and obvious focal point. So what's that going to mean? Well, it means it's going to be difficult for us to create as visually an appealing sketch as the others. Because we're working quickly, because everything is going to be relatively loose and nondescript, it means that there's not really going to be anything for the viewer to cling on to. Nothing that sets a scene, nothing to give the sketch a purpose. So why then have I chosen this image? Well, I think it's really, really important to experience this concept of a lack of a focal point or of a focal point for yourself. That's the only way that it really sinks in. If I just talk through a bunch of examples, some that will work and some that won't work, if you're anything like me, then you'll have forgotten those by tomorrow. But if you actually do the drawing itself, it will stick. So the target time for this one is around about 10 minutes. Now, what I do like about this scene is the way that the trees on the left and the right-hand side, they lean in and their silhouette in nature, it really helps to frame this area here. So we'll start with this group of trees first. I'm going to start with this one here because that then helps me just get the proportions right, or the distance between the two groups right. It doesn't have to be exact by any means. This is the 2B pencil. We've got the next one here. There we go, mine's just gone outside the frame slightly, that really doesn't matter. And then we've got this one here, that finishes higher up. And then the embankment. And then what I do want to do is put an indication of the path in early on. So that will help me, or remind me that there's a path there and that we want to keep that as part of a potential focal point later on. Got an embankment comes down here. And then these groups of trees we can put in later on as we're going on. What I do want to try and maintain is this area of light. I think this is quite nice. You've got the light down the right-hand side of the tree. So I do definitely want to try and get that in. I think that's going to be a nice feature. Stylistically, the way that I'm going to do this, instead of just blocking these in as solid tones, I'm going to go for diagonal hatching marks again. I've got a 5B pencil here, so this tree on the right hand side, it's up to you which direction you want to do them, sloping up or sloping down. But as I get nearer the top, I can just make fewer marks and broader marks. And again, that just helps to show that I'm not worried about doing this whole sketch. I just want to get the important parts in. So you can really outline these trees, these first left-hand trees, because they are silhouetted. And then the trees on the right hand side, So this one here has got that nice area of light. So if you remember from the Drawing Essentials course, this being a cylinder, we've got the terminator line. So all I'm doing is just making sure that line is anything but straight, just to indicate the texture of a tree. And then same lines again, same style again. This time I'm going up to that line, and I want to make a more definite distinction between the light and the shadow area. So I can get the HB pencil and then just ever so slightly just soften that line across there. The transition between the shadow area and the light. And this one behind it is dark, so let's see if we can do it even darker, just to help this one to stand out slightly. This one I'm going to do a little bit lighter. This is the 2B pencil. A little bit more carefree with these marks, just because we're getting to the outer edge of the picture, so it's that same concept again of looser marks further away. And then the base of these, an indication just that there's some foliage wrapping around it's the base of the trunk. And then let's put some of the foreground in so I can get this shadow area in here and some of the pathway. So 2B, 3B, whatever you want to choose. Very quickly, very loosely, just across the front. And then as we get to the shadow area, you can maybe describe that with some tufts of grass. The pathway in there, so it's going to be light across there. And then the shadow area continues here. So I can just show this as an embankment. So just maybe changing the shape of the marks just to show that it's an embankment towards the path. Help define that a little bit more clearly. And then we can put some of the other trees in. So draw the outline in first, and then as we get further away with each tree, so this is a 2B now, whereas the ones in the front were a 6 or 7B, I think. Maybe even a 5B. So as we get further away with the trees, they're going to become lighter and lighter. And obviously you don't need to put everyone in. Usually darker towards the base. And if you want to, you can outline the right hand side, because that is the side that's most in shadow. Here, where there's a bit of a space in between, what we can do is draw in a shape of a tree there, and then let's just put some tone in between these trees. And this one is going to be drawn in negatively. So it's just a case of putting in as many of these as you want to, as many of these trunks as you want to, but you certainly don't have to put everyone in. So maybe some stronger values down in the bottom corner, maybe an indication of branches and grasses, a little bit of texture in there in the embankment. So we're being really, really quick with this one. And then in this area here, so we just want to fill this in with a bit of value and keep the lines the same way. And keep this area light up the top. And then with your 3, 4B pencil, whatever, we can just put a few branches in just to add a little bit of extra interest. nice and dark in the corners. Again, that just helps to frame the picture. Creates a bit of a vignette, if you like. And just strengthening the darks where you need to. And then with the kneadable eraser, get that to a chisel edge and just reaffirm that highlight on the tree there. Soften this edge slightly. Same with any highlights at the bottom and that are running across, although they've been quite well maintained. And then you can just experiment with a little bit of an effect. So with the kneadable eraser, just dragging through to maybe get that effect of sunlight coming through the trees. And then if you want to, just to help increase the depth, if you then put back any of the dark branches across the front as though they're in front of the light. You know, certain things in front of the light, certain things behind the light. And this is about as far as I'm going to take this one. So this is not the most visually appealing, and that's deliberate, and I hope you can see, well, I hope you don't just see it, I hope you have a go at this one, because you will understand on a much deeper level that when you're drawing something without a focal point, particularly when you're drawing it quickly and loosely, it all tends to be just a little bit messy, a little bit scruffy. There's nothing to really focus your attention on. And because of that, it loses context, it loses appeal. So have a go with this one. Really good, valuable lesson. Have a go with this one, and I'll see you in the next drawing that we do.